What's up, dude?
Yo, we haven't been allowed to talk because we have this podcast.
That's true. Did we end up skipping a week? We didn't.
We didn't end up skipping a week.
As people can probably imagine.
So now Ben and I aren't friends because we have this podcast. And so whenever I go, hey, Ben, did you hear about this thing? He goes, don't tell me.
No,
shh, this is great podcast material.
We'll talk about it on the podcast.
No, there's others. No, we could talk business. Yeah, but there's interesting pop culture. No, doesn't matter.
We will sacrifice our friendship in the name of podcast.
For the 1,000 people who listen. It's growing. Dozens of them.
What about the listeners, man?
The listeners.
What about the
you know,
listeners?
I did click it made me feel good. And this is a product of a small audience, and I appreciate it tremendously. So I clicked our podcast reviews, and they're all 5-star right now.
Yeah, it's great.
Because, you know, it's this size. And they're, on average, even still, obviously, so kind and happy we exist compared to our YouTube comments.
Yeah.
We've hit a size where people treat us like a corporation, which is, there are no humans behind this.
Yeah, they can just say whatever mean shit they
There
want.
are monsters behind this, or gods. You know what I mean? Like, either this is brilliant or this is hall. But there's definitely no people contributing to this.
Yeah.
And so it was refreshing to read kind things about us as humans.
Yeah.
Yes, that was nice. But so we didn't skip a week. And
That's because our research hit a snafu.
a snafu.
A lot of this stuff is illegal. So
Well,
we're working it out.
yeah. No, we also have different research routes. So you...
Yeah, we did. We sure did. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
So I thought this was what we were both going to do. I found people running ayahuasca circles, psilocybin circles, ketamine clinics, and I asked them, what's the legality of what you do and how did you get started? What did you do?
Well, dude, this is just different circles we run in. So you made your 3 phone calls and found one guy who is probably going to run some of the bigger ketamine clinics.
Yeah.
You know, another person who, like, does these ayahuasca. Like,
Dude, a friend of my friend is the lead clinician in the MAPS trials.
Yeah.
He's going to be the first guy to get MDMA clearance.
Yes.
And I just got that through, like, calling a buddy.
So this is Ben calling his friends. I call my friend. I go a friend of a friend. And I go the woo-woo route. And next thing I know, I'm on a coaching call where I can use my subconscious mind to learn anything about anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Past, present, or future?
Past, present, or future.
Wow, impressive.
And it was $100 for an hour. And
Wow.
now I know everything.
Interesting.
I don't know everything. If you tell me this will be the lottery number tomorrow, I could tell you if that's true or false.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So should we just run through all the
Yeah, go ahead.
probabilities?
Just start with 1.
1. No? 1.
No, that was it.
1, 2. Oh, we did.
That was it.
Angel, cancel podcast. Go buy a lotto ticket.
No, it's interesting. And I don't, it was,
Have you asked him why he doesn't play the stock market more?
There were pieces of the call that I did like. And I
Also, true falses would always work, right? Like, is the market going up or down?
let me explain what it was. So it was, and I keep truly an open mind about all of this.
I know, you're amazing, because I'm much saucier than you when I deal with these people.
Well, I think it's important because take hypnosis, for example.
Yeah.
It sounds ludicrous. And to some of you listening, it might sound ludicrous. Except if you're pulled on stage and next thing, then you're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And
I've been hypnotized.
We've had this experience, and then we did hypnosis classes, and then we learned how to hypnotize people, and you can create incredible effects via hypnosis. It looks like magic. It smells like magic. It's real.
In my case, you could have.
At
one point.
Yes.
I'm out. I'm rusty. I can't.
Yeah.
You can.
Sure. So
I'm useless now.
I try to keep an open mind about these sorts of things. So people say aura reading, chakras. I go, listen, not familiar, open to the concept. Totally. And would love to find that there's a totally new branch of
No,
thing
me
for
too.
to
I
learn.
just like to test them scientifically. So this
Yes.
guy's like, you say anything, I'll tell you if it's true or not. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Okay, ready? S&P up or down tomorrow. Okay? This particular stock, up or down.
I want you to
I would just
invest
do 20 of them.
right along with
I
me.
would just do
Yeah.
20 of them. And then if he goes 20 for 20,
I'm in.
I'm out.
I'm in.
If you never see me on the podcast again, you know what happened. I found a guy.
Yeah, so, but here's, I think what happens with a lot of this stuff, and it could be wrong because I didn't actually do the tests. These were the claims that were made, and fantastic evidence was not provided. So let's put it at a maybe at this point.
Okay.
But what was interesting, and I did learn something, and he taught me this pendulum technique, which is a way of asking your subconscious mind how it feels. The entire idea of the subconscious is you're not conscious of it. You don't know. So what you would do is you would train yourself. You would go, this means yes. And you would grab a pen dangled from a string and forward. This means no. And you would do this. And you would just kind of beat that into your body for 30 seconds each. This is yes. This is no. This is yes. You do it with high emotion. And then you can ask yourself questions. I'm feeling confident about XYZ. Like, I'm excited about like stuff that you might not know your internal answer to. Like, this is good for me. It's a way to get in touch with your gut feeling, which I found that's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was expanded to the universal unconscious, because now the claim is I can tap into anything the universal unconscious knows. It means I can know things about you. And at that point I go, look, I think that it's possible that I could go, Ben was happy with me today, and while I might not have consciously registered that you were pissed, I could have unconsciously picked it up, and I could learn something that I didn't know.
I'm glad you brought this up. Should we talk about it on the podcast?
But what I wouldn't know is, like, Ben was born on, lucky court. I would have no possible way. So I'm into.
Well, but here's the thing. I'm down. You want to play Universal Conscious?
Yeah.
I am so game.
Yeah.
We should have a birthday.
Sure. Yes.
Let's just play what month is it in. Like, we can do this.
Yeah. So, and that's how I feel, kind of like super open to all of this. I told him that I wanted proof, and then the proof that he sort of gave me was like, I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to get it right. Yeah. Like, is this person better at martial arts than this person? I was like, dude, I know what you want the answer to be.
He's doing this?
Well, no, it's because he compared him to Chuck Norris. He's some guy I've never heard of versus Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
And he was excited. I was like, dude, I know that this is your sensei. Like, this is like my conscious mind is telling me. It's like, yes, and I trained with him and he is better. And it was unconvincing. Now, I'm not going to throw it out because I didn't disprove. We never did it. We never threw it out. And I give him.
So we know someone who believes in what's the thing called where you can see anywhere on the planet?
Oh, remote viewing.
Remote viewing. Believes in remote viewing.
Yes.
That's sick. You can, without any equipment, know what's happening at any point in the world. That's a freaking superpower, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Go into that room. I will hold up some fingers. It's a 1 in 10 shot, even when you're guessing. We'll do it 10 times.
Yeah.
You should go 10 for 10. If you can just.
You should go 8 for 10, and I'd be
if you're sitting here and not remote viewing, you'd go 10 for 10. You'd be like 7, 5. You get it.
Yeah.
So if you can remote view, just go in there.
Yeah.
If you go 10 for 10, I'm in. We don't have to do an 11th. So
that is how I feel.
Just test it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
I'm rooting for you. I want you to teach me remote viewing. I
Yeah.
want you to teach me universal consciousness. Like, I'm on your team skeptically. That's how I do it.
That's what I try to explain. And at some point, he was just very enthusiastic about it. I was not getting the proof that I wanted, and I just let it go because I wasn't there to I'm going to expose or prove, because he's doing happy with his life, and that's great. So that was the route that I went. The reason that I did that is because I want this thing that we eventually do to be holistic, right? It's not just about like take this substance and feel better. Like I want to come at it from
if we find a substance that works,
literally take this pill.
Someone said ketamine does it for depression.
I've heard MDMA for PTSD.
They've done studies where because I thought it was guided. I was like, ketamine and guided. And I was talking to my friend. He's like, no, they've actually shown you just give someone ketamine once a week for 4 weeks, and then they go on depression. It's like that can't be true. Well, and I'm sure you oversimplified, but
let's holster that. But anyway, so that's what I did. It was not as fruitful, and so here we are.
Do you want to join a call on Friday with my friend who runs a psilocybin retreat in Amsterdam?
Sure. I'd like to do that.
Cool.
Yeah, so let's chat. Couple things. I don't even recognize my notes from this week, but the first one. Did you listen to or watch Bernie Sanders on Joe Rogan?
No.
So it was interesting. Were you going to bring this up, Angel? I saw you flinch over there.
I think he's just excited.
No, I don't have that story.
So he was on Joe Rogan, and there was a couple interesting. I had a lot of reactions to it. One, I watched it a couple days. It had 7.5 million views. Out of curiosity, I looked up the debates. Roughly 9 million views.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan also has listeners. This means, and I think this is perhaps the biggest story, the Democratic primary debate has 9 million people watch each person speak for 30 seconds in sound bites.
It's divided by 17.
Bernie Sanders had an hour, and Joe's like, I know you got to go. And my one thing for Bernie's like, dude, you don't have to go.
Yeah.
This is perhaps the most valuable airtime you will get. Do not leave that seat. It's the reason that Andrew Yang is still in the race, is Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So I think that's incredible, and I think if you start to see mainstream media start talking about how Joe Rogan is dark web, and wait for that.
They're trying to take him down
dude,
because
he is a major threat to the monopoly of power and information.
What channel's the debate on? Like CNN or something?
Who cares?
Well, I'm just saying. You're saying that Joe Rogan reaches more people than they do.
CBS. I think it was a major station.
Yeah.
Now, will he top the regular debates, 2 people? I don't know, but he might. And the thing is,
It's
this
interesting
is
though.
still
What
getting
you're
views.
saying again, someone's got to hire you to be a consultant. What you're saying is, if you're a Democratic primary candidate, get on Joe Rogan. And you could probably do it with 3 other similarly
He
sized
would take
people.
everyone. He's had Tulsi Gabbard. He's had everyone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Get on Joe Rogan, maybe Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
Find out whoever's that size, and just like.
And they've all said it. I've heard Andrew
Podcasted.
Yang saying that Joe Rogan was an inflection point. I think Jordan Peterson said Joe Rogan was a huge shift. He's got
Joe, what about the charisma guys?
the charisma.
The people want to know.
Got to run for president. So that was the first interesting thing. But there was a lot of interesting pieces to it. The second interesting thing is that I liked a lot of what Bernie said, and I was not shocked because it's kind of. The comments were like pretty like thumbs up on Bernie, and he did give opinions with which you could disagree.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just we're gonna win, right? It wasn't slogans. It was I don't necessarily, and this is the problem/advantage. There were proposals. If he did a bunch of things, there was a handful I didn't like, and I was like, I don't want that. I don't want that. And I've never had that feeling listening to a debate.
Well, yeah, the debates are substanceless.
They're substanceless.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. I wonder, is it a disadvantage? Go ahead. You need to cough?
Sorry, I'm okay.
Do your
I'm good now. Sorry.
You know you can mute your mic, right?
I'm so distracted today. Sorry.
Do your thing.
Can I? I have no idea
Back
how.
up
Yeah,
along.
there's a button on the mic thing. It says mute. I'll show you.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm good now.
You sure? Want
Yeah.
some water?
No, I'm all right.
Okay. So the where was I?
Should we edit that out or keep it in?
Who cares?
It's riveting.
It was so fascinating. So
Joe Rogan, you disagreed with.
I disagree with Bernie, and that was an interesting feeling, which I don't often get about politicians. I like this guy, I feel good, but not I have a policy disagreement almost ever.
Yeah.
And that was
You were
fascinating.
pretty pro wall, I remember.
You were just like, build it both sides.
I was
Canada
kidding.
too.
I was kidding, guys. That's going to get taken out of context.
Who cares? Yeah. So he was talking about, for instance, forgiving student debt.
Yeah.
And personally, I just worked pretty hard to pay off my student debt. I haven't thought about it.
I actually have a gripe with that one versus universal basic income, which I'm not a proponent of. But student debt is weird because let's say there's 2 people born into families that don't have money, and one decides that rather than take on $200,000 of debt, they are going to forget college and go become a plumber, construction worker. They're going to learn a skill that pays them well. And the other one goes to college and gets a sociology degree.
And $200,000.
And $200,000 of debt. Why should we pay that person $200,000 and not pay anything to the person who's working their butt off as a construction worker because they just knew that was actually the smarter financial decision? We're almost punishing people for making a good decision.
Yeah.
That's my take.
So he then also wants to make it free. He wants to make college education free, which I think is another...
That I like.
I hate that.
Why?
College sucks, man. College is the most bloated. There's this conflation
But
the
who cares
whole
if
time.
it's free? Some countries make you go to the military. We'll just have
Ay, ay,
people go into the workforce at 21.
I think college is detrimental to learning. I think there's a
depends who you
massive
are.
conflation of education. Dude, you went to Penn. You don't get it. Like, Penn it gave you your network that you called. Some of whom these guys are college friends who have gone on to start these businesses.
Yeah.
And like that's what Penn gave you in a way. That's not the average college experience. And there was a massive conflation with education. His education is important. I'm on board. So we got to pay for college. No.
Well, I'm saying I just don't care what an 18 to 21-year-old does. If our entire 18 to 21-year-old populace is not GDP producing because they spend 4 years partying and kind of learning, whatever. If that's what we decide, I don't care.
I just think there's way better ways to party and learn. Maybe not better ways to party.
Yeah.
Better ways to learn. He seems to not get that like all of Harvard's classes are on the internet. You can learn any of this stuff. The internet is out there. You don't need to pay these bloated institutions money to hand you a rubric and tell you what to do. If anything, that got in the way of us creating value in the world.
Yeah, but most people don't want to be entrepreneurs.
I think if I were encouraging, I would, if I have children one day and if I am mentoring people, I'll say, look, there's nothing wrong with being an employee, But square one should be to figure out not how can you, like he talks about jobs like there are these things that need to be provided to you. Like the government needs to make jobs, as opposed to a job is something you do for someone else. Yeah. And in return, you receive money. And the causality is backwards. Like you're supposed to provide value, help in some way.
For something. For
exactly.
someone.
And not just be provided with this thing to do.
Yeah.
And it made me miss Andrew Yang. And go, man, I wish that you'd shout it at the debates because we don't need jobs. We need fulfilling things to do.
Yeah,
while
you don't need someone turning a crank that does nothing just so they can go, I'm working. Look at this thing get turned.
Yeah. So his heart for me seemed to be in the right place, but I disagree strongly with paying for college or incentivizing college.
Nice.
And similarly with...
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, Joe Rogan got 9 million views. This podcast will probably do the same.
Yeah.
So Joe was positive. You're negative.
I'm not trying to be negative.
We'll see what happens.
Well, this is my other thought on Bernie was... So Hillary went up against Trump, and they both played the soundbite game, right? And Trump is going to kill you. He's going to kill anyone in the soundbite game. And I imagine Joe Biden going up against Trump, and I imagine him playing the soundbite game, right? I don't know that Bernie can't win the soundbite game, but he might be able to take a completely different tact and try substance.
Not from what I've seen, because when he talks about the substance,
Yeah.
he's too nuanced.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, are you going to raise taxes? And instead of being like, that's a dumb question. The question is, am I going to give more money to 95% of Americans? And the answer is yes. And I'm going to do it by taxing the richest 5%, which means you make 10 million or more.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. And instead, he goes, well, I am going to raise taxes because here's the thing. And you're just like...
He's learned. No. On this podcast, he only talked about taxing rich people.
Yeah.
He's learned.
Good. Yeah, that was my gripe with him last... I forget what interview, but he gave one. I was just like, dude, I like what you're saying.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is turning me like...
Sure.
If you phrase this differently, I'm a proponent. But
So
he was bad.
So what I was thinking about is there's these shifts in who wins the presidency. I don't understand it completely, but I imagine when radio came in, I don't know the story, but I imagine that there was massive shifts in who could win the presidency.
They said, I think, JFK maybe was
well,
one
then
because
JFK
of
was the TV guy, right? So then this new format comes out the TV. JFK wins.
You're saying someone's going to win the podcast.
The 24-hour news cycle comes in. Trump doesn't win without a 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
He gets crushed by someone who's already lived in the White House, right? So to beat this guy who is the dominant force of the 24-hour news cycle, you need a different format. And this is a chance, right? These podcasts, these long-form things, they are different formats in which he would crush Trump. I think he would smash him in if he could make this the battlefield on which they played. And so that's what I'm thinking about. I think about this with our videos. We broke through not because we had great content, but because we innovated on the format. We did the charisma breakdown, not because I'm so fascinating. And I think that's going to be where somebody can beat the master of the current format is going, we're not going to play your game. We're going to play this different game. It's not held on CBS or NBC or any of this.
Yeah.
It's on the internet. And that actually, I know that Bernie is winning in a lot of head-to-head polls, but I think that's false hope for Bernie people because he hasn't been smashed by Trump yet. Mm-hmm. And once Trump punches you in the face and decides to give you your nickname and whatever, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And Bernie's got a lot of holes. I see him sitting there, and this is...
Name one reason an atheist Jew could possibly have a weakness.
I'll tell you why.
Running
and
for
I think of it from a charisma perspective. He's old. Yeah. He's got a hunch, and he looks. You don't see it often because he's in these shirts. He's built like this. He's hunched forward, and he looks frail. Doesn't mean that he couldn't be president, but man, when he stands next to Donald Trump, who is I think considerably taller and can still do this and hold his chin up, that's going to have an impact on people when they stand next to each other.
Sure.
And
what if Bernie just refuses to ever stand on stage with him?
Well, the Joe Rogan angle is good for him. It is. He still hunches, but it's got this downward thing. It makes everyone look small.
I'm not debating Trump.
Yes.
Trump's a dick, and I refuse.
And I don't know how to do it, but it did. I think that's how you beat an incumbent president. And everybody's talking about how Trump's got low approval ratings. I think you're going to watch him just pick apart people once the herd thins. So, yeah, I had a lot of thoughts. I think Bernie stands a chance. I think he's got to do things differently. I disagreed with a lot of what he said, but I liked a lot of what he said as well. And he made me miss Andrew Yang. He made me miss technology's here. We don't want jobs anymore. So, let me see if I wrote anything else down about him. The jobs. Yeah. So
that was it. It's a hard pivot.
Go for it.
We had another fatality in the open relationship world.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Aubrey Marcus.
Yeah.
And Whitney, whatever her last name is.
Not Marcus. Yeah.
They have broken up after 7 years.
So for those
as two people who used to do open relationships.
Yeah.
His story felt very similar to ours.
Well, we haven't talked about this. So we did open relationships.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I thought would be interesting.
Yeah.
So another fatality. Another one bites the dust.
So,
similar lessons learned.
And I think before we even get into this, relationships end, period.
Yeah.
That's what they do, right? Open, closed, whatever. Particularly when you're not married. You think marriage has a not good chance before you're married?
Oh, yeah.
It's probably not
I wonder
gonna
what
last.
percentage of relationships, if you're just like, you're pre-marriage, what are the odds this lasts till you die?
Sure.
I wonder what it would be.
Single
digits for sure,
Do
but I'm
your
just
own
curious.
life, right? But and another thing is, it's not a failure if you learn, grow, have a wonderful time with that person,
And
etc.
if it was enjoyable when you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best case scenario. The problem is when it's good for a certain period of time and then it lasts twice that length.
Yeah.
That's when you have an issue.
Yeah, but no, I listened to it. I haven't listened to a ton of his podcasts. I knew that he was out there doing this, but we did open relationships, and one of the things that we experienced,
Not with each other, just to clarify.
well, kind of, right? It's like, what are you doing today? I'm gonna go hang out with Ben. What about Ben as well tomorrow?
Yeah, true. We don't make love to each other, but we do make girlfriends jealous. That's true.
But so, I think we both did it from a desire to not feel constrained, which I know a lot of people, men and women, feel when they enter into a relationship. Not everybody, but you can't. You like this person, you love this person, but that doesn't stop you from desiring to get to know, be attracted to other people. Mm-hmm. And that was what we felt. And so we're like, okay, I want to try this. It exists out there in the world. Let's give it a go. Mm-hmm. And, if, fair is fair. If I'm going to do it, then you need that freedom too. And often the women that we dated were like, I don't really want that. I don't, want to go out.
I dated someone who, so we was like, we have to do this exactly the same because that's what's a good relationship.
Yeah.
So we'll both hook up with other people. And she's like, I don't really have that desire. I was like, well, but you should because I read a book on it. There's a lot of really bad books on open relationships.
Yeah.
I had such a good, well-intentioned heart doing this. But I was like, we'll both do it and it'll be great. And she hooked up with somebody and then called me and was crying. She was like, I hated it. And I was like, well, but the book said...
Let me refer to
like,
chapter
I couldn't
6.
process the experience and just be like, this isn't for you, and we don't need to have a perfect mirror. Like, sure, I paid for everything. We didn't have a mirror in that regard.
Yeah.
But instead, I was just like, well, hold on. I don't know what to do here. Let me look up what other people say.
Yeah.
Ignore this personal experience I had.
Yeah.
And it was just stupid of me. And it sounded like Aubrey was in a similar... Well, different in the fact that they did both want to hook up with other people. But
yeah. Well, what I related to, and the jealousy and the trying to talk yourself out of it. I was like, whew. For
people who don't know, Aubrey has publicly said his relationship was open and he hated when she would hook up other people.
Maybe not every time, but there were times.
Nauseous.
Yeah.
It would make him feel terrible. He would be upset for hours.
Yeah.
But in his mind, and I've done this and you've done this, it's like the increase in happiness of it being open outweighs the decrease in happiness of it being open. And so we'll do it. You know what I mean? It'll be a seesaw. I'll be happy. You'll be sad. You'll be happy.
Well,
I'll be
additionally,
sad.
there's a hope that you'll grow. There's a hope that what you recognize is that this possessiveness that I feel is, one, not tenable because I can't own you. I can't ensure that you will never cheat on me. I can't, none of this is guaranteed anyway. So why pretend, right? And so there's this desire to grow and to be able to love someone without possessing them. And you're like, that's a noble goal.
It sounds nice.
And it sounds nice. And what I will tell you is that doing an open relationship like that taught me that I'm not as malleable as I thought I was. I grew up, I was like, anything is possible. Like, maybe I can't play in the NBA, but any emotion I want to create, anything, I can respond, I can choose my response. Man, that's not my experience.
Yeah, you did everything. You did NLP, hypnosis.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what else. You did a lot. Tapping.
I have so much respect, and it doesn't mean that you're fixed, but for your biological firmware, your biological hardware. I imagine it would be like if you're straight, trying to talk yourself into being gay, or if you're gay, trying to talk yourself into being straight through the power of positive thinking.
And the flip side I have a friend who's in an open relationship, and he just likes it.
Yeah.
I had to battle jealousy and read books on jealousy.
Yeah.
I brought a book called The Jealousy Workshop for people who have open relationships. I asked him, how's it going? He goes, oh, it's dope. It's great. I'm dating someone else. She's dating someone else. It's awesome. I like him. We get along. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What about the struggle? He's like,
did you do the workbook?
Yeah. What do you mean? He's like, what do you mean? I just like it. It's great.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're who's supposed to be in an open relationship. Like,
what I come to think is that you have to explore and find out how you are built, and that creates the possibilities for you in the world. And I didn't think that was the case. I maybe one day I'll change, I'll overcome,
well, it's the
I'll feel
difference.
differently.
I was even talking to a friend of mine. He's engaged, not married, and they're not completely anyone can do anything. They have an open with rules, monogamish. You know, we can hook up with other people when we are traveling or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And I was talking, he's like, oh man, it's going really well. It's going really well. Like, I've gotten to the point where it doesn't even bother me. I was like, well, hold on. Define doesn't bother you. As long as it's someone that she doesn't know and it's just once a month and we've made rules that there can't be relationships with emotions, it'll just be sexual. Well, those are going to break.
Yeah.
Over the course of a lifetime, you're going to sleep with someone and she's going to sleep with someone and it's going to last a year, but you won't get attached. Mm-hmm. That's going to break. Like your relationship can't be based on that, because the other thing is what is forbidden just becomes desired. Mm-hmm. So, you can only see this woman once a week and you can only text her once a day. When she texts you, you're just going to be like, 7 p.m., can't wait. She sends you a nude or something. You're going to just be dying to see her. Mm-hmm. And it's actually going to devalue your primary relationship because we just want what we can't have. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I was like, when you say it's going well, do you mean it excites you or do you mean you can stomach it? Like, what if she did it every single day? No, that would break us. Like, we've tried that. It's like, I don't think you like open. I think you might be enjoying this thing that is destined to break when one of you breaks the rules. But yeah, you're not my buddy who just is into this and doesn't need any restrictions because he doesn't mind it.
And there's nothing wrong with being in a relationship that has a visible end in sight. There's
sure.
I
mean, this is more for anyone who's listening, who's thinking about this or who's doing it, because I thought that made sense to do. And what I've realized is I think if you are in a relationship where the rules upset you, so you make more rules to try to be less upset, you are not as well off as if you just found a relationship where with no rules, you each did what made the other one happy.
Well, there's always rules in relationships, right? We just have a default, which is you're not allowed to kiss, sleep with, or...
Well, I'm saying maybe that's not for you if you don't like that. I'm saying whatever your rules are. Mm-hmm. Like, figure out what you want, what you genuinely want. Like, that woman I was dating, she just wanted to see me. Mm-hmm. So that's what she should have done.
Got it.
You know
Got it. Yeah.
She didn't need a rule. She didn't need a restriction saying, hey, don't hook up other people. She just genuinely didn't want to. And when like, pushed to for our personal growth, she didn't like it.
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't need a rule. You just don't want to.
Yeah.
Whereas they have this rule where his woman would like to, and so they restrict it, and he would like to, so they restrict it. I think that's tough.
Sure.
That's tough.
That's all tough. I mean, the biggest thing with relationships, we said, one, most of them fail. But two, most people pretend that they won't. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is not that there's nothing wrong with relationships. It's the idea of relationships and the reality of relationships couldn't be more different.
We're also we're somehow told or messaged that we should not say when things are bad, because I've noticed with couples, even when I know them well and I know things are just falling apart, like we're on the border of a divorce, that day there will be an Instagram post about my person, my love, my queen, my king. It's like, you don't have to post it all. You can post with your friends, but it's weird to me that you will have a horrible fight and then an hour later post about
that's
your king or your queen.
That's necessary. And I think that exposes what a relationship is for. And that's probably the thing that ruins relationships, is that it's not just for you two. It's to be seen by the world. And that is, I think, what screws so many of them up. Because if you were just focused on how the relationship is between me and you, it'd be easier to split.
Yeah.
But when it's got this performative thing on Instagram, and by the way, this is a tried and true rule, look to how often someone posts on Instagram for an indication of their mental health. If you see a spike in posts, they're having a horrible time.
Yeah, and they're trying to feel good.
Exactly.
If
you see a dip, they're busy doing important things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're just involved in their life. And so more posts, particularly when they're inspirational and happy. Whew.
And weirdly enough, I've
some
noticed
bad stuff.
The happiest couples I know don't post often about their relationship. They'll be together.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, really enjoying Machu Picchu, and they're in the photo together. But this is just my anecdotal experience, but the people who write huge captions about how great things are going in their relationship are often having the worst time.
Yes. Yeah. You have to kind of do that to affirm that it's okay. But even going back a step to the split in what we expect, and I realized this when I had a breakup, and I was in an Uber, and I was not feeling good, and I think I'm gonna marry you came on the radio.
Oh, dude,
I was like, come on, not this song, not this song. And then the next song came on, and it was Thinking Out Loud. When you're lazy. And I was just like, oh my God, like, what is happening here?
Dude, the power of music. I told you this. When I was 23, I was in a relationship I wanted to end. I was unhappy. I had tried to end it before. I had guilt issues at the time, so if I wanted to end a relationship and the woman felt that she didn't want to end it, I just wouldn't. I would try, and then she'd cry, and then I'd just say, okay, I'll take you back. And I was sitting at her house with her family at one point, and this song came on. I forget what it was, but it was some romantic John Mayer
Hey there,
song.
Delilah.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I shouldn't end this relationship. Maybe what I have, maybe I'm undervaluing what I have. And I started to have all this doubt. That ends, and then California Girls by Katy Perry comes on with Snoop Dogg. And I was like, oh my God. I almost just got hypnotized.
Yeah, you did. And we talked about hypnosis. This is happening. It happens when you come back from vacation or you come back from a retreat. You don't realize how much stimulus that you don't notice is getting into your brain. And every movie, every song, everything has an idealized notion of relationships. I mean, you like get together at the end and it's just perfect. I think I'm going to marry you. It's a crazy day. Let's just do it. Like,
well, most movies, they end with the couple getting together, which is so funny because, like we just talked about, 95% of those end. And even if it's like a marriage, that is the end of the movie, which oftentimes it's not. Oftentimes it's just we're dating. That will end. And so it's interesting because we romanticize the getting together part. And we don't really acknowledge that much in our songs and our pop culture and all the messaging we get from the age of 5, how hard it is.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting.
Yeah. And I think that's why so many people I think this is probably the era, because I look at people who have mastered wealth, mastered their fitness. And I mean, it's just like they have that on lock. Relationships seem to be the thing where there's the most fraudsters. And I mean this in the most kind way possible, where they are posing as if things are good, pretending, maybe even teaching others, and struggling mightily to make it work. And I think it's not because they're bad people. It's because the ideal towards which they are striving never existed. It's a romantic thing that was written by people in songs and tales of knights and chivalry. And they're just aimed at an impossible goal.
I have a friend, and she was dating someone, and she really loved him, and he really loved her, but they were having some issues. So they thought that getting married would fix it. So they got married. It was still on the rocks, but they really loved each other, and they wanted to make it work.
Baby.
They had a baby.
Yeah.
And then eventually they had to break up. And because the way that things had been messaged to them from society and family, they felt uncomfortable breaking up after 4 years of dating. They're breaking up after 12 years of dating, including marriage and having a baby. Yeah. And they're still broken up. And I don't have any takeaways there except for that it's hard, and we are hurt by the fact that we want so badly to make these things work that we'll try to trick ourselves and pretend that they are working.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this too long, but we'll wrap it soon. People talk about finding their person, right? They know not to say the one anymore because the one doesn't exist, but they just want to find their person.
Yeah.
And
one of my exes said I was her person. It's so flattering.
Yeah.
That's the thing. My front brain is very rational, but in my soul, I'm very romantic.
It's built into you, man.
And
it's your cultural soul. That's the other thing. To be clear, if you were born in the 1700s, you wouldn't have that.
Oh, no, not at all. You'd just be a monster by today's standards.
It wouldn't exist. All of these things were in the movies and songs you've been force-fed your entire life, and I think...
Well, it's also nice to be idealized like that.
Yeah.
To be told that you're my person. There's no one on the planet better for me than you.
Yeah.
That feels really good. That's a good ego boost.
Chime in. We've talked about a lot. I'm super curious because we've been all over the map with relationships. We'll get to a different topic, but I'd love to hear what the audience out there... This is why we need phone calls for this. Because you and I can become an echo chamber.
Yeah. Should we just do hard transfers with no transitions?
Sure, absolutely. Well, there's one other thing that I want to say, which is I would love to see, you know how they did the Blue Zone study of like health?
Yeah.
I would love to see a Blue Zone study of relationships.
Oh, me too.
I highly suspect small communities in religion lead to satisfaction with your partner.
But staying together or satisfaction?
Definitely staying together, maybe satisfaction.
Okay, definitely staying together.
Yeah. But anyway.
Questionable on satisfaction.
I'm curious.
Let's do something very related.
Yeah.
There was a man took his own life.
Oh gosh,
you know.
I told you our hot take is the same as everyone's.
Mr. Epstein, he was sad about his sins. He realized what he did was wrong.
Yeah,
and he took his life.
Yeah,
Any thoughts?
So the whole thing, Jeffrey Epstein, who was a billionaire who had been multiple times accused and gone to jail and was going to jail for underage debauchery with young girls, and had also alleged, I believe, against the Prince of so-and-so, rich movers and shakers in the planet, that there was a ring.
There was a theory that there was a high-powered, political, and wealthy pedophile ring.
Yes. And the first day he was taken into jail, he was found with injuries on his neck. Whether an inmate did that to him or he did it wasn't disclosed immediately. Maybe it was later. And obviously I was like, oh, you SOBs. You tried to kill him, but a bullet has been dodged. And now you can't, because come on.
And he's
going to be
he'll have cameras on him.
There's going to be no ropes.
They're not going to give him sheets.
There's going to be nothing.
And
near
guards.
him.
If guards start seeing him tying
24 hours. Is there a more valuable prisoner?
No, not at all.
He's
going to take down this huge, rich and powerful pedophile ring.
And what do you know? Within weeks, he's dead.
It's insane.
My only reaction to that is, this is what power looks like.
Oh, it's so brazen.
It's the most brazen.
So brazen.
And I struggle to say that, because normally I abide by the belief, like, don't attribute to malice where ignorance or what will suffice. But man, this is not a conspiracy theory at this point. To say that this guy who could point out the richest people on the planet survives one suicide attempt and then gets it on the second is like, if I were in charge of that job.
And there's no guard that can say anything that happened.
If I were in charge of that job, there'd be no effing way that he had anything that could kill him anywhere near him.
Well, yeah, there would. Because if you had that job, someone rich and powerful would just move you out of that job.
Yes.
You would be like, I'm following the rules. It'd be like, cool, there's a transfer. It'd be so easy.
Cool, he needs to shave with a straight blade?
You can't fight a transfer. They're just, all right, yeah, we're going to move that guy out. We're going to move this guy in.
And then, of course,
it's easy.
Now the FBI is going to investigate, which is like, great, exactly who we need on the case. Like
the powers that be.
Yeah, powers that be. That to me, my only reaction is, but this is what power looks like.
And
you don't have to be surreptitious about it.
There'll be no comeuppance.
What are you going to do? Reddit will really swear. I guess I can swear. Reddit will be
we're deep in.
Reddit will be inflamed for a week, and then they'll be inflamed about something else, and that's. This is
I was just shocked. I was like, surely.
Reminded me of Edward Snowden when we found out that the government brazenly was listening to all of our phone calls, and we all cared for 4 days, and then nothing.
And that poor guy's life was ruined.
Yes, and that's what. And again, the reason that this power works is because nobody actually cares. Nobody actually cares at all. We're going to talk about it.
Or they feel like, what can they do?
No, man, you don't care, and I don't care. It inspires a second of, but guess you care about what you're going to eat for lunch. No exaggeration.
Well, I do think the genuine question is,
30
what do you
times
do?
More.
These are the people that can go into a prison and murder or coerce a suicide.
How much Googling about what you could do have you done?
None. I'm just
you don't care.
Out of ideas.
Okay, when you open a relationship, what can you do? How much Googling did you do?
Sure, lots.
You don't care. No one cares. And what's interesting, and this is, I think, what we have to look in the news, is the furor that I felt when I heard this is misdirected. With the news is an outlet, I've said this before, by which we expel the energy which we should be putting towards improving things in our lives.
Yeah.
And we get to go, what can you do? And the answer is a ton about other things. But this thing that gets you really angry, you love this because you don't have to do anything about it, and you don't care to, and you wouldn't anyway.
Do you think it vindicates Alex Jones because he's been railing about
the
political,
deep state?
No, political. What did he say? He used to say political pedophile ring, right? Something.
Yeah,
he said he's like DC is run by corrupt pedophiles. Like he said it. He called it. He said there's a
he's got a number of
ring.
Quotes that like you listen to them like the turn of the frogs gay, and then but you take it a step back and you go, well, they are putting chemicals in it. You know what I mean? Like he's got a number of those. Does it vindicate him? I don't know what he said, but
it's pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure he said there's a high-powered political pedophile ring.
I'm not. Here's what I've realized. We've talked about this. Our school, we both had a teacher who went to jail for having sex with a student. Yeah. We both knew of multiple teachers that were coercing, flirting. Some of them waited till the day of their 18th birthday. Some of them, I suspect, did not. Mm-hmm. One of them was coming to parties that people were at. This was a female. People are not built to respect the age of 18 as the age of consent. For a large...
It's interesting. I mean, we talk about this. It seems anecdotally like almost every public school and I don't know, I don't know many people in private schools, but like has someone that's sleeping with a student.
Yes. And I believe we're 10,000 less, a couple hundred years ago, getting married at the age of 13, 14, 15, right? Like a woman had her period and then she was clear to be married off in the Middle Ages. I don't think that we should do that. I think I have got to say these ridiculous things. But
That's bad.
there's a lot of people who have a drive that is as strong as a sex drive to do these things. Some of them have tons of money and power. It's not crazy to say that there's a high-powered pedophile ring. It's almost like, of course there is. Like, this is a drive that people have. Now, what percentage of people feel it, I don't know.
Well, also, maybe this seems crazy 5 years, but post this, can't we just say, of course there is?
Yeah.
Because we found a high-powered rich pedophile
Where they were
who
flying around,
was coerced into suicide and or murdered to prevent other people from going down.
Well, what's interesting is, not interesting, sad, horrible, is that they find each other and they work together to host these parties. These were the allegations, but there's been several against and his person. I shouldn't even say that. I hate when people throw allegations around. So I don't know enough about it.
But edit it. Just turn into a beep.
Yeah.
And then when I just said it, turn it into a beep.
But yeah, that it's crazy, man. It's out there. It's happening.
It's weird.
And that's power. It's just, you're going to get SEAL Team 6th, and that's it. Maybe, and I'm not saying that anyone killed him. I'm saying the fact that he was allowed to kill himself means that keeping him alive was...
Yeah, it could have been like in The Accountant, when
Yeah.
the guy's like, listen, I'm going to torture your wife.
Yeah.
And I'm going to murder her. Then I'm going to find your kids.
So you're going to want to...
them.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this gun here. And if it finds its way into your mouth, I won't do those things. And then the guy kills himself.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
that's basically a murder. I don't know what we count that as.
Exactly. Hard pivot. This was a thought that I had.
Yeah, I love the hard pivots.
So I was on, to my shame, Reddit.
Doing research for the podcast.
Doing research for the podcast. And I saw it was a clip of a guy with a number of guns and like a mullet, and the caption, it was on the front page, was "Small Penis Starter Pack." And it made me realize that I don't know if they're next up, but it's definitely a strange double standard where I don't think one is appropriate. The male body shaming, the small penis body shaming. I can't imagine anything on the front page that was derisive of the size of a woman's breasts. It's impossible for me to
or her weight or any sort of other...
There was one about a woman's weight, I'll actually say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was, but it wasn't even about that. It was a very large woman on a beach laying on top of a guy and essentially surrounding him, and there was a joke about her being super, super huge.
Got it.
So, but I think it was because she was on a beach, and I think it was because she was on top of this person. Take that out of context. I don't know that you can do that. But the punchline of a joke being fat is less common today.
Yeah.
And even though it still might be out there, certainly, certain things you would never make a joke about a woman's private parts being the right shape, size, etc. It's interesting and common, and I watched it many months ago. Stormy Daniels came on Jimmy Kimmel, and they joked about the size of Donald Trump's penis.
Yeah.
How big was it?
Well, and what you're saying is like, that doesn't hurt Donald Trump's feelings.
Dude, there's
Donald Trump has a penis that's regular size.
Or
But
whatever. There's statistically people
But
that...
there are micro penises, like people whose
Or
lives
smaller
are...
than average, or whatever, or
Yeah.
average. And the entire message, which, fine, I think you should be able to joke about everything, by the way. I think you should be able, culturally, politically, to hurt people's feelings. Yes.
What?
But if you want to do that, I would suggest that a similar standard of care be applied to people outside of your particular
You're saying if we're going to take
circumstances.
some areas and
Say
something
this-
you're born as that you
Yes.
can't change is going to be considered off limits.
Protected. That
Then
has a
everything-
historical thing of being shamed that
Yeah.
has deep, lasting impact. I think this counts. I think small penises count. And I read an article about a guy with a micro penis.
Yeah.
And
Definition of micro penis?
it's smaller than 3 inches when erect.
Okay.
I know everything about it.
Yeah, just for the people watching,
Just because. And even then we joke, we joke
yeah.
about it.
But you
It's
have to. If you
so
don't make
meta.
the joke,
If
people
you don't
might
make the
think-
joke, people might think.
they might think you
it's
have a
so
micro
meta, man.
penis.
It's
The joke, it assuages the audience.
Yeah, and the article was about the very difficult. He couldn't find a relationship that worked for him, At one point, he had no desire. He tried being gay so that he could have a relationship and be a bottom because
That's because he found that no woman would date
women.
him?
Now, I don't think that's true of everybody. And gosh, if you're listening, I do not mean to give you zero hope. I don't know what that life is like. But what I am saying that I recognize is that
It's fucking hard, but it's
harder.
okay to make fun of.
It's harder. Things are okay to make fun of. You're not less of a person. And I wish that in the same way that people will stand up and say, hey, man, don't do that. Like, my cousin has a learning disability or whatever,
Don't say the R word.
Yeah.
Don't say queer in a mean way.
Yeah. That people would do that for this because it's out there. And
yeah, man, can you imagine you're in a group of friends and you do have a 2-inch penis and
Yeah.
they're just all making jokes about Trump's tiny penis?
Could I imagine?
And you're just sitting there just like, oh my God, this
Yeah.
is my nightmare.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. So, Soulcycle and Equinox.
We're so good at transitions.
Soulcycle and Equinox. I went in because I wanted to ask. This thing happened where somebody who was an investor, I believe, in the two companies, I believe owns but has nothing to do with operations, one of those people who, rent-seeking, classic capitalist, late-stage capitalism, where you make money off your money. It's America.
I love it.
He owns Equinox and Soulcycle, which are, I think Equinox, I didn't actually know this, but is a gay-friendly or gay-frequented gym. Apparently, that's how the New York
That
Times
math
kind of...
checks out with my experience at Equinox, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. So he is having a big Trump dinner. Now, my first thought on this is you could take a picture with the president for $100,000. And my thought is, one, we got to get the money out of politics, please. Like, one, donations up to a certain size per person. Two, corporations should not, like, Citizens United needs to be overturned. I don't know why. It's not free speech. You're not treated like a person. You can't die. Like, why do we treat corporations like people? It's baffling to me in this regard. So in any event, there's a lot of money in politics. That's bad. But the reaction to this guy doing it is that there's a social media thing where they want to get people to cancel their Equinox accounts in a show of solidarity, and we hate this. Yeah. You didn't hear this?
No. Solidarity towards LGBT.
LGBT because Trump, according to the people who feel this way, is anti-LGBT.
Is he?
I have no idea. In any event, they feel this way. And there was a social media thing. Now, then the New York Times runs an article that echoes it. And I was very curious. One, which had the more impact? The grassroots thing or the coverage of the grassroots thing that did it? I suspect the coverage. I could be wrong. But I am very skeptical of social media's power without an echo chamber of mainstream when you're not Joe Rogan, right? When you're some guy on Twitter.
Yeah.
When
course.
you're some
If
guy
you have
on
7
Twitter.
followers, you're not gonna...
and you and your tiny community.
Yeah, you're hoping the New York Times picks it up.
Exactly. And I think the New York Times, they have an agenda, and this suits it well. So that was my first question. And then my second was, how much impact did this have? So I walked into our Equinox and I asked, I was like, what's going on? And it was full, but they're like, no, we had yesterday 25 people canceled their membership. Now, I don't...
Did you ask how many cancel on a normal day?
Yeah, they're like, it's not that many. Like, it was more. And I said, were they mean to you? They said, some people were mean. Some people, got that I didn't.
half the people working at front desk are LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Like a crazy amount, actually.
Yeah. But
Can you imagine just yelling at a gay guy who works at Equinox about how Equinox isn't friendly to gays, and he's just like, I'm wearing sequins, dude. And that's not a joke. There's literally a guy that works at our gym that wears sequins.
Yeah, it's a joke too. You could say that. I don't know if you could say that.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it's a real guy.
So
he's fabulous.
And yeah, I don't really have a take other than I guess, put your money where your mouth is. If you hold a belief strongly enough, you should not boycott it and fund it. Makes sense, right? You don't want this to do, and what you're essentially doing is discouraging people from at least being public about the fundraising.
There's a restaurant, I don't even know if it's true or not, but there's a restaurant that was allegedly anti-LGBT, and I stopped eating there. I loved their food, but I was taking a stand.
Is it Chick-fil-A or something?
I think they're totally fine. I think they're unaffected. The other thing is Equinox doesn't care if 25 people cancel. They don't even notice.
Well, yes, but everything. We're in LA, so I would but also Equinox is they're in New York, they're in LA. Those are the things. I'd be super curious to find the impact that it had on their business.
Are they public? Because if they are, you'll
I
know
went
it.
back because I was curious about these social media uproars and this, we're going to do it. So remember when the guy who did
You go so deep. I love it.
Oh, I'm curious.
Yeah.
So remember when the guy of Cristal said something, we don't want hip-hop people?
Well, yeah. Go on.
Didn't hurt him.
No!
Didn't hurt them.
But Jay-Z made Ace of
But
Spades.
Jay-Z did fine. They're doing great, man.
Damn.
Didn't hurt him.
Such a great story, too.
I know. And it tells you, and I really...
For anyone that's not up on that, the Cristal guy said that they don't want urban black people buying their stuff. So then Jay-Z made Ace of Spades and said, screw you. Rap used to always talk about Cristal. Now they talk about Ace of Spades.
Yep.
I thought to the detriment of Cristal.
They're like they're like the biggest champagne thing, and they have a number of brands, and they have... So I am very curious which social media things are effective, which are not, under what circumstances they're effective. I think of Occupy Wall Street. Nothing.
I'm going to be honest. I worked on Wall Street at that time. Wall Street did not mind.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people sitting in a place that you don't really go,
Yeah.
and they're not affecting your revenue. And Wall Street just went,
I don't
That's
know.
cute.
I want someone like Arab Spring. I think that affected change, but long term, did
I
it?
don't know.
I'm not
Occupy
sure.
Wall Street was the ultimate ineffective one. I was
Yeah.
literally working in Wall Street, and I lived near the place where they were occupying, and I got to be honest, no one cared.
I'm very. I someone help me. I need a research assistant to like pick some of these big social media things that happened years ago and dig into the lasting impact. My hypothesis is it's less than we're led to believe.
That one was none, dude. I think all those stocks bounced right back. I think everyone's making more money than ever.
Which one?
Bank of America, Goldman, all the Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street was a zero.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's also because there's an incredible entrenched power in Wall Street. You could make the argument that Equinox doesn't have the same sort of.
I'm shocked Cristal. I guess it's just not,
Didn't matter.
didn't matter.
And the mythos around it is that it.
Yeah, it's a great story.
It's not true.
What it did do is sell a lot of Ace of Spades.
Yes. So having an enemy helps, but people didn't stop.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to me. Again, we're told the power of social media, and wouldn't it be interesting if you didn't have power on social media?
But you felt like
Would
you
it
did.
be interesting if you
Well,
felt like you did?
It's actually worse to think you have power, because then you do your thing, you go, we did it. Mm-hmm. You stop doing anything else, and then you've been ineffective, and they just keep doing this.
So right now in Hong Kong, this is finally a decent segue. They took the airport over. Now, who knows if this will be effective? And they're up against the Chinese. You know what's happening in Hong Kong.
Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast.
They're up against the government of China, which is relentless.
A lot bigger.
Yeah, and this isn't to say that this kind of action wouldn't be effective, but they're not just tweeting.
Yeah.
They're not just canceling memberships. They shut down flights in and out of Hong Kong. So it's interesting, and I would love to know what
I'm saying
sorts
is,
of actions are
maybe
effective.
social media is actually detrimental to your cause.
Maybe.
Because it makes you feel like you've done your job.
The question is, what are you using it for? If you're using it to coordinate and be like, yo, be here.
No, to like raise awareness.
I think awareness is highly overrated.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I think awareness is highly overrated. You kind of found this. You posted about.
Oh, yeah. Dude, my birthday was yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. I was thinking, I don't post on Instagram often, once every couple of months, but I could use this as an opportunity to raise more money for charity water. So that's what I did. And I haven't checked this morning, but when I looked, it got hundreds of likes and a lot of comments, some comments specifically saying, I love what you're doing with charity water. You're such a generous person, blah, blah, blah. What a great cause. And I went, oh, this is sick. Let's go to the donation page. And I went to the donation page. No one had donated in 22 hours, which is well after or before I had posted the post.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting. 100 people like it. Many people comment. Some of those comments applaud the effort. Not a dollar raised.
Yeah. So, and this is I guess this is my refined hypothesis on social media. Used flippantly without very, very particular ways. And we found this. We did 2 calls to action for charity water, one of which raised
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
One of which raised maybe a third or less. I think a lot less,
10%.
actually.
It raised
10%.
$8,000 instead of 80. So
Yeah.
we raised $8,000 and then we raised $80,000.
Yes. So you need to know how to use these things. You don't just get to make people aware. You have to know how to inspire action. And if this was an interesting video, I would do it for people. I think it's fascinating, but I don't think people, unfortunately, care. And so, yeah, so social. It's not that social media can't do anything. It's that using it like most people do is not effective.
Yeah.
Screaming, rant, it doesn't do it. You have to know how to trigger people psychologically to care enough to move and then give them a clear thing to do. And that thing needs to somehow be effective.
And for most people, easy.
And incredibly easy.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time thinking about these sorts of things because we do want to raise more money for charity water. And I do think that my impression is that they're very effective at helping people. Mm-hmm. So if I can get the money to them, then they can go and carry on the thing that people forgot about a long time ago, but at least they donated and that helps. Yeah. But yeah, man,
shout out to our super generous audience though.
Yeah, you guys
are blown away. I was like, yeah, so we'll donate 100, then we'll raise 20. And we'll be at 120, and that'll be great.
I want to hit 300.
It is crushed.
I want to hit 10,000 people.
Yeah,
I think we're going to. I'm gonna max it out if we don't. I'm serious. I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna ask for an extension, and then I'm gonna do my birthday. We'll do one more call to action.
Yeah, on the YouTube channel.
You'll match me.
Yeah. Can we edit that out of the pod? So I had this is a super short one, but I had another fake news experience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is just funny because Trump's fake news thing sounded crazy to me.
Oh, sorry. Can I keep us on this for 1 second?
Sure.
Because I just saw this is connected. The Neil deGrasse Tyson thing. Which is connected to the social media. So Neil deGrasse Tyson posted you would have to call him a scientist about it, a thing of the death statistics by the flu, et cetera, in the same period that there was the mass shootings, and said sometimes our emotional reactions can get the best of us or something like that. And the point appeared to be that there's a lot of people dying from a lot of things. What he's
trying to say is everybody's very emotionally reactive to the gun deaths, and it's a tragedy, no doubt. Here are other statistics. Maybe instead of focusing on gun control, we focus on having any sort of punishment for drunk driving besides a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
And all he did was throw the numbers up, right? People know likey.
Well, some people know likey, and then there was the Reddit about people know likey, and then Joe Rogan talked, and now we're talking. And again, my hypothesis with all of this is the story was Neil deGrasse Tyson is blasted on it, and I think the hypothesis is nothing happened.
If he deleted his Twitter and didn't know that happened, his life would be unaffected.
Dude, the tweet didn't matter. He didn't matter. None of it mattered. It was all nothing. And again, I think it's a distraction because it fires people up on either side. First, you get angry that he said it. Then you get angry that people are angry at him for saying it.
Yeah.
And you've got shit in your own life. That you're like, you don't have a good relationship with your mom and dad. You haven't called your sister. And there are things that you won't deal with.
Can I tell you one funny thing that I enjoyed about the gun control thing? I just thought this was funny. Walmart did not make any changes to their gun policy, at least last I checked, but they did pull down any of their R-rated or mature-rated video games.
Nice.
So I don't know if you've seen this, but people are walking into Walmarts and taking photos, and they're like, here is the gun rack. And it's a photo, and it's all these rifles. Just gun. Here is the video game rack, and it's there's 10% of games. It's empty space, except for the E for Everyone games.
Really?
Yeah. Which is just fascinating because just don't take the video games away. If you're not going to take
the guns, really do that? I find that
I think so.
Hard to believe. That's fascinating. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
It's great, right?
Blame Marilyn Manson. He did it, right?
Eminem.
Eminem.
We still blame Eminem.
Yeah. Is it Eminem's fault? All right. We talked a lot of news. This is a long one. What do we got, Angel?
Yeah.
You're going to have to cut some of the boring parts because we just keep going.
Well, first of all, you guys took almost all of my topics, so
good.
I'm left with the bare minimum. I got a few things left though. What are the? Oh, sorry. So, YouTuber Brooke Houts accidentally uploaded a video of her repeatedly hitting her dog.
I saw this.
She quickly deleted it, but of course,
because I was on Reddit.
The internet. People downloaded it and reposted it. So if you guys wanted to take a look,
I've seen it, man. I've seen it.
I'd like to see it. I saw clips. How long is it?
This is about a minute, but it gets right into it. You could just see a little bit.
Get right into it.
Oh, that's a pretty good smack. What is the video about?
So the video was actually about her like messing with her dog.
She was like showing how much they get along. They love each other. She spits on it, yeah.
That's the big one, is she spit, and then a lot of people.
Why? Just angry?
She just looks like she just can't stand the dog.
Dude, the spitting thing. There's a lot of these Reddit videos with spitting these days.
This is random, but did you see the one in the subway?
I saw the one in the subway.
With the giant guy?
Did you see the one on the bus?
No.
Dude, that one. So we'll get back to the dog. Angel, can you pull up either Reddit, spitting, bus, woman slaps other woman into the next dimension?
Okay.
It's good.
But you saw one on the subway where a guy had too much faith in the subway doors?
Yep.
This like 5'10" guy is talking to the 6'6" guy, and the 6'6" guy's behind the subway, and he's yapping, and the doors are closing, and he spits on him. And then the guy reaches in and starts pulling doors apart,
Yep.
and he spits on him again.
Ugh.
And then he stands
Yeah, I
there.
saw it, yeah.
Which tactical error.
Yeah.
And the
Run.
guy
Rips it open,
gets
yeah.
the doors open, and then shadow realms that dude.
Yeah, so
It's assault to spit on someone, though, right?
as
That's
it should be.
self-defense.
As
That's
it should be.
self-defense.
As it should be. This one, okay, ready?
This old woman?
The end of it, yeah. This is the one. This one, I'm not gonna lie, I cracked up when I saw the end of this.
Oh, that old woman did it.
Yeah. Wait,
Who did she spit on?
wait for it. Wait for it. Shadow.
Oh,
realm. Shadow realm.
It's a hard slap. Why'd she spit on her?
Who knows? It's not there. But here,
Don't spit on people.
when did people learn to spit on
This is
people
the
as
punchline.
a thing?
Yeah, don't spit on people.
When did people? And I think they assume that that's a less violent thing to do because it
But
hurts.
no, but it really does count, I think, as assault.
Dude, I don't know a
could be
worse
wrong.
way to instigate someone to punch you in the face. If you would be better off pushing them, like give them a nice hard shove. If you spit on someone, you're gonna get punched, right? If
Angel,
you're
when I was describing the subway one, throw the clip up. You'll be able to find it.
yeah.
You don't have to do it now. We've seen it. But when I describe it, just let people see it.
But
it's insane. This guy is just so brazen.
Yeah.
Just, and then he gets destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, she
So yeah, so she spits on her dog.
spits on her
People are
dog,
really
hits her
angry.
dog a bunch, gets angry at her dog. The fascinating thing is she makes videos apparently, or this video is about like hanging out with her dog.
Yeah.
You know, it's again
You think this will affect her?
Yes. Yes.
So this is not like a no deGrasse Tyson tweet. This will hurt her.
Oh, you know what? I'd be curious.
Can you just Google, see if there's been a
She's got a channel. Let's go to
subscriber
Social
thing?
Blade. Can
Oh,
you
there you go.
go to Social Blade and
I
then
don't have
search
it. Do you need
her
to have a
name?
membership?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know what Social Blade is.
So and yeah, curious if that'll. I'm sure people have unsubscribed, but the thing is, if you didn't see this, you didn't see this, and I don't know.
Yeah, if you're not on Reddit, she
Yeah.
deleted it.
Yeah.
I will say, so far only minus 5,500 subscribers. So
How
many?
in the last 30 days.
No. How many does she have?
Oh, she has a total of
Let me take a quick look.
I'll
get the numbers for you.
Oh, there it is. 327,000.
327, and she's lost a couple thousand over the last days. She's lost, dude. She's lost like 10,000.
Oh, yeah.
1/30th of her subs.
So that's the thing. So she has 300,000 subscribers,
Yeah, I
and
don't-
she's lost 10,000.
I think this is the true. People have short memories, and
Yeah.
I think two
She
things.
can just keep posting videos of her dog, and 97% of her audience is none the wiser or doesn't care.
I think this is how the internet is different than life. People, one, get far angrier, far more intensely
Yeah.
than they do in real life. Like, it's measured in real life. But two, they have the memory of a goldfish.
Yeah.
And I think those two things combine to create what you're seeing, which is outrage.
And then no actual
long-term-
impact.
Yes.
Yes, fascinating.
Versus if you've done this in your life, somebody might not like you. They might want to
Yeah, you might
spend
lose a
less
friend.
time with you. But it wouldn't be the intensity
Yeah.
that you saw. But yeah, that person might not
Actually bounce.
hang
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
It's
So,
fascinating.
all right, what else we have?
A Brazilian gang leader tried to escape prison by dressing as his teenage daughter.
Nice.
So we have that. And okay, so a lot of people are talking about it, but the thing that a lot of people aren't talking about is the fact that he was going to switch places with his daughter. His daughter was visiting him, and he was just going to leave her there
Oh, well, she was going to get out.
in place of. And
Well, yeah,
she was.
once she was like, "Hey,
Yeah,
I'm a
she's-
16-year-old.
I'm
not,
a girl and not, I don't.
I'm not this violent gang leader."
So this is a video of him getting caught, basically.
No
Will
way.
you make it full screen? I can't believe they got this on video.
Dude, he looks.
He's wearing a silicone mask, so it's not.
I was going to say, that doesn't look like a gang leader.
How'd they know?
I think just his behavior. He was acting nervous.
I want to take the let's get the face up. Let's see what we're working with.
Oh. Qual teu nome? Vicente Piragua.
I am so surprised they caught her.
Yeah.
Or him.
Well,
Zer.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, what else we got? That's cool.
That is fascinating.
I like that idea. I think you need a better mask. It could have been the issue because it does look. It looks like you live in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, living in LA, I was like, how did they know? Well, she looks completely plastic. Yeah,
yeah, could have been.
I see this person walking down the street all the time.
Yeah, a little too much though. A little too much. What else?
The last thing I have is that Katy Perry and some of her collaborators were sued and lost.
Yeah, man.
A copyright lawsuit, and now $2.8 million is owed.
I was shocked by that. Did you hear it? We're
Yeah, you told me about it.
We
but
can't play it.
I haven't played the.
I mean, I think I can hum it. I don't even know.
Nah.
He's got a background. 1, 2. I think it's 7 notes. 7 separate notes, maybe 8, and it's like actually 3 different notes because there's some repetition.
Yeah, A, B, G, B, G, or
and
whatever.
it's like all eighth notes or quarter notes or whatever it is in the song. It's not a miraculous hook or background.
We don't monetize, actually. You can hum it or we can play it. We don't make money on this anyway.
Whatever it is. You can listen to Dark Horse. You can listen to the song.
Do you want me to play it for you guys and then I could cut it for the...
It's all right. I mean...
it's running long.
Yeah. The only reaction I had was if she did or someone on her team, we could establish that they listened to this and then used it. I think that's completely reasonable. You stole from that song at this point. And you didn't transform it enough. But this is something that very reasonably could have been created by two people in separate
this is
areas.
Random. So our friend tweeted about Andrew Yang. I was like, it's amazing to me that his approval rate's so low. I think it's because of blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't think that's it, man. I just think he lacks charisma. And someone wrote, oh, trying the Gary Vee technique. Nice. I was like, what's the Gary Vee technique? And I guess maybe Gary Vee somewhere says like, oh, just try to like force your shtick onto everything. I was like, no, this is just me making a comment. Which I think is similar to this in the sense that like, ideas occur to multiple people. You know what I mean? It's interesting. It's like, I had this idea. It's my idea. Anyone who has this idea, I can sue.
Yeah.
It's like, this is 6 notes, 7 notes.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and again, you like, there's the Vanilla Ice thing with Queen. And in that thing, you heard the song. Okay. You heard that
you can't
song.
tell when it starts. You can't tell which one it is sometimes.
But and you stole it. Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it. You listened to it. You stole it. This is not a large group. Now, maybe one of her producers did. And what I would say is if we can establish that they did hear it, take it, sure. But if they didn't, you're not allowed to come up with the same basic backing thing that someone else did. It's odd to me. There's a lot of these going around. Ed Sheeran was sued by the state of Marvin Gaye a while back. For like, I don't know. It might have been Let's Get It On for Thinking Out Loud. And it's Marvin, whoever, or your family. You weren't the first one to come up with these chords.
Yeah.
Like, music is so repetitive and cyclical, and while you can't steal, there's got to be some allowance for transformation to occur. And it's a different song. It's not Let's Get It On.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. That was my reaction to it. I listened to it and was...
Yeah, you were shocked that she lost.
Unless they heard it.
Yeah.
And went, oh, we're going to do that.
There's an email from her producer to her. Hey, let's steal from this song.
Yeah. In which case I would be, okay, pay that guy.
You got her.
Yeah. $2 million. It's more than this person will ever make. So it's a good deal.
2 fan questions.
Yeah.
The first fan question comes from Daniel.
Daniel.
Yes, and he says, hi guys, a question for you. Do you practice some form of stoicism? I know Tim Ferriss is pretty big on it, and you both talk about the 4-hour work week. So I was wondering if you had any personal resonances with the philosophy and its daily uses.
I think inadvertently, probably.
I've never studied Stoicism, so any Stoic philosophy that I have is, once again, just an accidental overlap.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that we got stuff in here, but for a long time we didn't have stuff.
Yeah, but not because I read a Stoic book that inspired me. It was just because we moved around.
Well, you read the 4-hour work week, which is Stoic influenced.
Sure.
And that's a big thing. No, I think I've heard people describe Stoicism as practical Buddhism. It's okay, do this in order to detach from things that don't matter. Mm-hmm. So have I read I actually wanted to read Epictetus. I haven't lately. I read Meditations by Aurelius, and some of it has made its way into my life. I don't know that I would describe myself as a practicing Stoic, though.
Yeah, like I said, it might be, but it would be by accident. It would be by studying people who have studied Stoics. Because I've not ever gone to the source material for Stoicism.
I think inadvertently, because of Tim Ferriss and a lot of that this is common in the personal development world, which is focusing on the few things that do matter is kind of a Stoic behavior.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are the tenets?
So the one the Seneca used to do is he would practice poverty, right? He would walk around barefoot and try to go without things. It's a detachment to the things that don't matter, is, letting go of fame, of fortune, of all of these kinds of things.
Yeah.
That I definitely work on, and I would say right now I'm more influenced and interested by the Eastern tradition of Buddhism, but they're honestly not so terribly different.
Who stole whose IP?
Who stole? I mean, Buddhism came. Well, actually, you know what? They're both pretty old. I'm pretty sure Buddhism came first, though.
We don't know. Someone's getting sued.
Who's getting sued?
That, by the way, if we cut the Katy Perry bit, that joke will make no sense.
There's some crazy Stoics, though, man. So this is the coolest thing about the Stoics, I think. Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe the coolest guy ever to live. He was arguably the most powerful man to ever live. The emperor of Rome could have done whatever he wanted, but the little things like being faithful to his wife, he just did. That's not what emperors did at the time.
Yeah, they had harems or they cheated. Or...
I think I'll have to double check. He fought like front lines. He worked so hard and reflected daily to try to do the right thing and be a good person. And that kind of moral fiber doesn't exist, let alone in the most privileged person on the planet. So he's remarkable.
Meanwhile, Paris is just banging someone else's wife, starting a war that gets his whole family killed.
And then another Stoic is Epictetus, who was born a slave and is one of the most famous Stoics. And I think, I don't know his whole story, this is why I want to read him, but writes all of these things about how you can be free despite your bondage. And it's so fascinating that the most powerful man and the least powerful man could come across the same tenets and
know
find
each
them.
Other?
No, they could find them equally applicable.
Interesting.
So, and then of course there's Seneca, there's other things, but I think Seneca was, he was in the Senate, like there's a lot of really interesting.
Marcus Aurelius is the coolest because that guy could have truly done anything.
Yeah.
Could have done anything. No one was going to stop him.
The last good king, man.
Really?
I think after him came, oh gosh, I should know this, Caligula or Nero or someone that like there were five emperors starting with Augustus, and Aurelius was the fifth. And then after that, things kind of fell apart.
Huh.
Yeah.
Didn't raise his kid right, I guess. His kid wasn't a Stoic.
His kid wasn't a Stoic. He missed that. Well, I now Gladiator's getting confused with what actually happened.
So yeah, what happens? I'll tell you what happens.
Joaquin Phoenix goes crazy.
Russell Crowe, he just assumed that Joaquin Phoenix would respect his dad. You guys know what I'm talking about. Charlie, I think you might be confusing fact and fiction now. No, I can picture it vividly.
Pretty sure. So yeah, it was.
So potentially accidentally.
Yeah, Stoics are cool though. I like them. What else?
Muhammad wants to know, do you guys think you're going to write another book or record an audiobook anytime soon? I can think of many topics that you guys covered in different videos that would make great books. I'm not sure how many of the viewers purchased the Charisma on Command's books, but it's literally one of the best books I've ever read.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So, Muhammad, the first thing that we talked about prior to turning this on was whether we were going to take it off of Amazon. The philosophy that we are starting with our business is one that Jack Welch kind of had when he was running GE, was if his product wasn't first or second in the category, he would cut it. Now, clearly, Charisma on Command is not first or second in its category. In anything. But it's also, in terms of our business, it's a sliver of what we do. Nobody really buys it. We don't really promote it. And we do have some upkeep costs associated with it. There's people email us asking for the bonuses, which is on a webpage that died, so we have to go put the webpage up. There is leaks of mental energy that go towards the book. Not a ton, but what you realize is that you always underestimate your mental leaks. You always underestimate what your sloppy closet is costing you in clarity of your mind and your space. And so we've been taking out all of these hugely valuable essential things to the business financially and to other people.
Yeah, we took something out recently that was not a small chunk of the business.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it's maybe 10% all in. We didn't take away the full thing, but we stopped offering the trial to anyone basically unless they buy first impressions.
Because upkeep costs of...
You're getting emails from potential clients asking questions, people take the trial and then cancel, and your support team needs to do it. And so you go, you know what, this money is actually not worth not just like it's positive if you only look at money.
Sure.
Cost less than revenue. But when you add in the mental cost of our team thinking about it and us thinking about it, you go, oh, this isn't worth it. So we stop doing that thing.
And
it lets you double down on the biggest things, the YouTube
Sure.
channel and Charisma University. It lets you only think about how do we make the YouTube channel the best thing possible, how to make Charisma University the best thing possible.
yeah.
So we were discussing.
We've been
putting
letting
the
go
book-
of the good to try to replace it with the great, and I appreciate that you think it's the greatest book ever. I don't know that that's a belief held by a lot of people. So I mean, we can look at the comments.
Prior to your comment, we were gonna cut it.
Yeah, we're gonna cut
Now,
it. We're gonna think about it.
We'll think about it.
We'll think about it. So will I be doing another book? Not planned. I don't have a book in me right now, and I don't like the books that should have been a blog post but made it to book length. So I wouldn't want to do that. If as I grow I develop a book, writing is close to my heart. It's a labor of love. It's a labor. It's hard. It's really hard. But there might be one. Audiobook is a no, just because for the same reason we said, like I want to make great videos and I want to make the course even better than it is. So that's kind of the stuff that we're talking about. So we're going to consider the book. At least you've already got your copy either way.
Hey, you might have a collector's edition.
You have a collector's edition. Yeah. So
mail it to Charlie. He'll autograph it.
no books coming up. More videos though, and we are working hard to try to get a team together to make those better, potentially even more frequent. So
It is weird. This is a separate thing, and I think it says something about human psychology. Do you think we work harder now than we have in the past?
Yeah.
It's interesting, right? So you would think that the more money that you make or the more success that you have, the less you would work because you were doing just fine on $3,000 a month. Well, now you're doing more than $3,000 a month, so just take the foot off the gas. And for us, it's been interesting because the more it grows and the bigger it is, the more, at least for me, you're like, oh, we could grow this even more.
Yeah.
We've had past success, a little bit more effort. It'll grow even more, reach more people, make more money. And so weirdly enough, we actually work more now than we did when it was a small nothing blog.
Yeah, man, we work pretty hard.
It's interesting. Pretty hard. Compared to our past selves.
Compared to our past.
It's just interesting, the human
Not compared
psychology.
to a coal miner, but we, like.
No, yeah. But it is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I do it. It's not like no one's forcing me to it. It is a willing psychological tick that I have that I see in you as well, which is that as it becomes successful, there is a desire to see how much it can grow or how great it can be. Whereas when it's small, you just go, hey, who cares?
Well, the other thing that I think makes me want to spend more time on it is when you're at a phase of learning a new thing versus doing the same thing. I actually listened to Jordan Peterson talk about a similar topic last night. He talks about people who are high in openness, creativity, who are the entrepreneurs, and people who are high in conscientiousness, being the MBAs who run the business. Mm-hmm. And when we were flat living, we were running a business. It was like, okay, do a thing this week, a thing next week, have a coaching call, and maybe grow it incrementally, but like it's a flat business. And then we started opening things up and we got more creative. We did the videos, and now the videos have tripled in views in the last 3 or 4 months because we're doing new, different things. We're hiring people. That's a totally new skill. That makes me want to work hard. I realize I like new stuff. I like learning new things. I have probably 10 books that I've purchased in the last week that I've started reading 3 of.
Wow. What are they?
Oh man, there's a couple business books. There's Biocentrism, which is on universal consciousness, the idea that we talked about. There's the one by Sadhguru, which I still haven't finished. There's this MBA book that they wanted, Blue Ocean Strategy, which is corporate planning and strategic stuff. So it's business and spiritual are the two. They all often go hand in hand. Yeah, they're the same.
Though it's funny, we talked about Marcus Aurelius and the other Stoics because very often the monks are the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go hard either way.
They walk hand in hand.
I'm gonna be.
I have a prediction. You'll get yourself out of the business. You'll replace yourself. You'll build systems, and the business will be able to grow without you. And then you will go live on a mountain for 3 months and come back and tell us about your experience.
I actually think we're going to probably buy businesses.
That's what I want to do. I have a friend who he sold his business. Now, we can't really sell our business because you're so tied to it.
This isn't interesting to people. I don't want to tell you about our future plans.
Oh.
Anyway, no book. What else?
Somebody
No
with
one's
the
watching. We don't have to keep going.
Just-
Thanks for episode 11. That's definitely not the right number. What's the next question?
somebody with the username Meatball Denemo says,
What up, Meatball?
a thing I'm sure a lot of people want to know is your favorite YouTube channels currently, and how did you guys get started with YouTube as viewers?
What a great question today. I was thinking about this yesterday. There's this one channel called Like Stories of Old, and I want to do more of what he does. Here's why he's fascinating. He's foreign. I don't know where he's from. He's got a bit of an accent, and I think a lot of people who don't speak perfect English think that holds them back. But he's even better than I am, because what he does is he breaks down movie analysis from a philosophical angle.
What's the channel name?
Like Stories of Old.
Okay.
And he just did one on Ricky Gervais's show After Life, and it talks about nihilism and life. And I'm not kidding. I've watched 8, 9, 10 of his videos. Over half of them bring me to tears. It's freaking incredible.
Wow.
Now, maybe this is because I'm sensitive to music. Maybe, and he's got this calming voice, and they're 20-minute videos. But man, when he hits the joyful part of his videos, which you know,
That's so fascinating. You've never mentioned it to me.
I don't. That's not your thing.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's not something I would expect you to like. But for those of you out there, I think, and this is, I've talked about how to use social media to affect change. What I think we can learn from him is he opens you up emotionally. And really, there's two major things. It's the tone of his voice and the music. And if I had to give it, honestly, the music is
music is
huge, man.
Music's huge.
So he brings you to tears. But then there's no act. There's no thing. So you're sitting there raw, open, ready to call someone and tell them you love them, and the movie's over. And it reminds me of Choice Center. It reminds me of Landmark, which is they break you down, they crack you open and say, go call this person, tell them the truth. And you do that, and then there's like sort of change can be carried forward. So what I would say, not that this is his job, but that if he were trying to affect change on a mass scale, he needs to add that call to action at the end. That's simple. And where we aren't doing is, I don't think we're moving people emotionally.
No, we're
how to
more scientific.
Yes. So I think we could really, I actually think it would be a growth opportunity and good for our videos to go in and be like, how do I make someone cry in this video? How do I move someone? The video that I just did on the Avengers should be able to do that. It won't, because I'm not there yet. But with the right music and the right, I talk like this and I'm getting really happy, and you got to keep going. And he talks like this. But the ultimate significance of life is in realizing that other people are there for you. And you're just like, and so I need to learn to hit that tone. Yeah. And I think we need to learn to craft that thing because we can inspire more people.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, to do it. So Like Stories of Old is great. Well, I'll let you. I've got a bunch that I could say.
No, go ahead. Mine are. I like Surf Simply. I like ESPN for basketball. I like Zach George for dog training.
Yeah.
And I like to watch the talk shows that we break down. Actually, that's probably my most. Graham Norton, Craig Ferguson. I think there's a lot to be learned from watching those.
Yeah.
I regularly watch those.
Yeah. So, and then there's I don't, because I know PewDiePie got in trouble for unreservedly recommending channels, so I'll just say some of them. I don't know if all of their videos are amazing or whatever, but I like analysis. I watch Coffee Breaks sometimes. He does breakdowns he did the trending tab, which I think discussed, which I found fascinating. I'll watch Kyrgyzstan sometimes. I liked PewDiePie before he did Minecraft every day. He's just been doing nonstop Minecraft. And then I like video essay channels, and Like Stories of Old is a great example. I'll try to come up with some more for.
Dude, you know what's interesting? The YouTube algorithm just defines what I watch, because I never am in there searching for anything. They don't show me any of these.
Of course, and I've what happened is one day, a year, 6 months ago, these guys had a breakout video that made it to my homepage. I clicked it and then I got sucked into that.
But what I'm saying is, I might like these guys. I might like Kyrgyzstan. I've watched some animated video about the genetic coding thing, Cypher, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, that one's great.
I watched that.
Yeah.
But then it just, because they love to promote corporations, ESPN just makes its way onto my homepage all the time, and I'm like, I'll watch a basketball highlight.
Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah. No, and so it's crazy because I might like all this stuff, but the YouTube algorithm is not showing it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I deleted I use Distract for YouTube, so I don't often have the homepage available. So I only have my subscription feed that I can watch or I can search. I'll add a list below to the things I subscribe, maybe in the description.
I'm getting manipulated. I'm a corporate shill.
Yeah. All right, let's go. We've been so wordy this time. It's incredible. It took way too long. Any other questions, or is that it?
There's one more question.
Okay.
So, user The Joker says, hi, guys. I really like both of your channels and appreciate your effort to help us. I have a question for you, and I apologize if my English isn't perfect because I'm Italian. I have a problem because too often I start to think and daydream about people that I like or imagine whole conversations with them. He continues, this is a problem not only because it makes me less present in the moment, but also creates too high expectations and often leads to not behaving normally when I actually meet these people. How could I stop that vicious cycle?
So, sorry, what was the last part? I was having a conversation in my head.
Oh, so the last part is just basically when this person actually meets these people, they sort of have expectations and behave differently because they have relationships in their mind. So how do they sort of stop imagining relationships with
first
people?
First is they're not present. Well, no, I can relate to that totally.
Well, I used to do this to my advantage, I think, in the sense that I used to play interviews in my head. I had tons of mock interviews before job interviews. Though. Yeah, but I'd say I'd have conversations if I were going to talk to somebody that I was intimidated by. I would do visualization. So I've had a lot of these conversations be to my advantage. I think
so you can use it consciously to help you. The question is, how do you perhaps stop the unwanted cycle of this happening? So what you're asking, I think, is how do you quiet the mind?
That's meditation.
And I think it's unfortunately the answer is you meditate and you train that.
Why is that unfortunate?
Because it's not sexy or fun, and there's not a mindset that I can tell you. You have to sit there for 10, then 20, then 30 minutes and witness the mind and watch it. And in a loving way. The goal is not, by the way, to win, or you'll never win.
Well, I actually had a friend break down meditation in a way I quite liked. Because he said the goal of meditation is to learn to release thoughts. Yeah. So you're having this conversation, it's a fake relationship, you realize you're in it, you want to let it go. He said people beat themselves up when they meditate because they're trying to think of nothing and a thought enters. And he says, no, this is like the gym. Yeah. It's okay when the thought enters. The rep is when the thought goes away. And so actually, as you are meditating and you are getting distracted, but then you learn to release it, that is the mental muscle growth that occurs from meditation. And eventually you get those longer thoughtless gaps, which is enlightenment. But in the day-to-day, this is the benefit that he says, is that you sit there and you do get distracted and you just get rep after rep after rep. That's
exactly what it should be.
Out of your head. And that's actually, in his mind, one of the best parts about meditating.
Yep, exactly as it should be. Yeah. Oh, and the last thing we can just talk about, I don't know if you wanted to, but I think we should do this every week. Tom Hanks went up. Did you have any thoughts about the video?
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited to watch the whole thing.
You haven't seen it?
Well, I watched parts. I actually watched like V1 or something. But I'm very excited to watch this video because I think he's great. Yeah. I was watching him tell stories and be emotive and get in character and take things to 10 out of 10. I really liked it. We talk about other people's sense of humor and things like that.
He's highly underrated.
Yeah.
He's highly underrated.
I watched it and I went, I'm really excited to watch this finished product because I think there's a lot of stuff that he does. And I don't think any particular point will make me go, wow, I've never heard that before. But I don't think that's the point. I think the point is he's excellent at using his voice, at using his body, at telling stories, and that definitely I could learn from him. So I'm stoked for
There's even more than I think got in this, because I have the same sense when I watch him. It's like he's up there.
It's phenomenal. People. Sits in a room with a bunch of other celebrities and runs the show.
Yep. In a way that is, he owns it, but it's a friendly ownership.
Everyone loves him.
You don't begrudge him for it. Yeah. So
that's my thought. What is yours?
My thought, I think I missed some of it. I don't, it's a good video. I think all the points are true, but I think there's more to Tom Hanks, but this isn't a video about Tom Hanks. That's the thing. The video sometimes gets circumscribed by the angle that we're taking. Yeah. And there is more to Tom Hanks than this. But truly, I think, again, what it comes down to, if I had to rate the things, is his infectious energy is a huge part of it. Yeah. Again, what I learned when I watch him is the modulation.
His ability to, it seems, entertain himself is really, really powerful. And I saw that we're doing a Craig Ferguson video, and Craig has the same thing. In both of them, I see they excite themselves as they tell stories or they tell jokes. They're not doing it to try to entertain. but it also doesn't seem like there is a struggle to energize.
No.
They just get excited by what they're saying. And I think that that's really powerful.
Yeah.
That's what I took away from the video that I want to have more of.
And he's eminently replicable in the sense that, like, a Craig Ferguson, or you take a Robin Williams or Russell Brand, sometimes those guys operate at such a speedy level of wit that you're like, what am I going to do?
I can't be Russell Brand.
Yeah.
He's so eloquent and so fast.
But Tom Hanks isn't doing anything that is impossible to do.
Yeah, he's just doing it excellent.
He's doing it really well. So he's somebody that you can learn from. So
my biggest thing is I wish we had a sexier title, because I think this video deserves to get a ton of views. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's a great person to learn from.
Sure. So we're, by the way, gosh, I'm talking so effing much today. We're working on Craig Ferguson. We're working on this Avengers video is going to come out next. And I also was thinking, if it's interesting, let me know. And give me the no's as well. I don't just want to get 3 yeses and be, oh, it's a yes. Like, tell me if this is dumb. But of doing a breakdown of maybe the top, what I consider 3 to 5 most charismatic people, not coming at it from an angle of here's a particular benefit. Rather, here's what's is interesting about the 5 most charismatic people. Here's what they have that, like, really pushes them over the edge.
Do you have a clear 5 that you think stand out above the rest?
I mean, I could start to discuss, I think.
No, I just meant that wouldn't be. If I had to make that video, I'd feel like, oh, am I forgetting?
So here's who I would think. I think Tony Robbins, for his influence, can't be denied. I mean, he changes lives.
His personal change.
Literally in 20 minutes.
Sure.
Oprah Winfrey. Incredible. I think Russell Brand deserves a spot in this 5, and people make fun of me because I've done so many videos about him, but there's nobody more eloquent. And then I have, it could be Will Smith, could be Craig Ferguson, could be, who are you thinking?
So I feel like Obama's
incredible
based on who he was, but like now we're like, yeah, Trump won, anyone can be president, but it's like this guy had the least experience. He's African American. His name is Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah.
And he came in and became president.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
Obama's great.
Like, if you're looking at results, which I think charisma should be measured based on
he's also got a very different style. He's not going to explode in the room like Russell Brand might.
No, he's more measured, but he inspires.
And I think he commands respect in a way that is very impressive. Maybe I would say for him. Dude, honestly, a lot of presidents could
well,
make
this is why I'm saying it's tough to have just 5, right? Because Bill Clinton's allegedly amazing. Not as much footage of him. I'm just, it's yes, he won, and it's obvious now. But the fact that Obama became president is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Not bad, just like, wow, that guy did something right.
So anyway, I think I feel confident.
I agree with your other 3. I think Tony Robbins. Well, at least your top 2. Oprah.
My top 2 are Tony and Oprah.
Yeah.
And then Russell is in the 5, I think. And then I'm not totally sure.
I would toss Obama in there. Let me think who else. Will Smith, I think, is very impressive. But in a less, I don't want to say one of a kind. I mean, truly is amazing. But it's like there's one Tony Robbins. There's one Oprah. You know what I mean? These people that came from, now Will Smith came from poverty too, but he's like came from these impoverished things to become these huge brands onto themselves. And then Obama, I think, is just a crazy story. I'm trying to think who else I would put in there. Will Smith used to be in there. Bill Clinton, if there's more footage, I'm positive he would get to be in there.
Stories about him are incredible.
Yeah. But we'll talk about it.
Cool. All right. That's that. Thank you, guys. Episode 16. It's done. Peace.